The Pope last night blasting modern capitalism, saying, quote, "It's a mentality in which everything has a price. Everything can be bought. Everything is negotiable. This way of thinking has room only for a select few, while it discards all those who are unproductive." Let's bring in liberal radio host and Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall. Leslie, does he echo some of your thoughts about capitalism?
Yes. This is a pope of the poor, and also speaking in an area that has a huge indigenous population. And one of the things that I do think that we often forget about when we see some of the proposed legislation in the United States, whether we're cutting food stamps or trying to cut funding, regarding homeless shelters or anything like that, is, we're forgetting those biblical principles of taking care of widows and the poor and the homeless and the hungry. This pope has been known as the Pope of the Poor. This is nothing new from this pope. And I think, quite frankly, this is right up his alley. I'm a former Catholic, and this is a pope that could get me to be a Catholic again.
Well, here's the thing. In our country, though, how come we became the most amazing country in the world? How do we come from nowhere, just young upstart, and surpass countries that were ahead of us, established 2,000-3,000 years before us? And isn't it because we put the onus on the individual to be the best that they could? If you give poor people too much, how can they ever become the best that they can be?
Well, I think one of the reasons the United States is great is, first and foremost,
how do we become great, though? Because in the beginning, Leslie, we didn't have welfare. We became great, Charles. In the beginning, we didn't have food stamps. Right.
But in the beginning, Charles, we took care of the poor. We took care of our family members and didn't lock them up in, nursing homes or asylums if they were ill or if they were elderly or if they had a mental issue. I think many of the reasons that this country is great is, one, we have the population, two, we had the diversity, and that diversity is not just about culture, but about different types of trades. So you had people from, all walks of life. And three, I think Americans are we've become, and it's become a part of our social culture, and I think it's a good thing, we're very driven. We don't have, like in other societies, like in the UK, you cannot become the queen or higher than the queen. We don't have that here.
Provides the backdrop for people being that driven. But I want to switch gears a little bit with you, because one of the big things in America right now, and we're seeing this, a huge spike in homicides in all these major cities. Leslie, isn't this what happens when you start to limit capitalism or limit abilities for people to go out there and earn? Either they get desperate or they become so complacent that they do things like this.
I don't think, when we look at the people who are committing these crimes, Charles, that they are former CEOs that don't have a job and they're angry and they didn't get their golden parachute. You're not going to like it, but these cities are not all gun-free zones, Charles. And everybody tells me out there that is a real gun owner and gun lover. The more guns you have, the safer we are.
Chicago's got the toughest gun laws in the world, and every weekend 40 people get shot. Come on, Leslie, don't blame the gun.
That's Chicago. That's Chicago. I'm not just blaming the gun, but I mean, you have to look at it. There's a correlation there, isn't it? When you have more Americans owning guns than ever before, and crime is higher in all these cities.
Let me tell you something. As gun ownership went up in this country over the last couple of decades, crime has gone down. That's the direct correlation. Why don't we talk about the fact that these are the same cities that have...
Not in these cities, though,
These are the same cities that have the highest amount of people getting food stamps, getting welfare. These are the biggest cities where we have the largest percentage of young men being told, you know what, go to the disability office. You don't have to work. Get a crazy check. These are where we've taken the ump out of people. And then when they want a little extra, instead of working for it, they take a shortcut.
We also have people, first of all, cities are going to have the largest amount of people who are going to be displaced because they have the largest population. So that, to me, is more of a 2 + 2 = 4 thing. We also have to look at the fact there are people that have mental issues, mental health issues that are not being addressed, that we're not putting the money in for research and repairing in cities and states across this nation. And we also have to look at the fact, Charles, that the opportunities aren't being given to some of these people in these cities. And then, of course, drugs. We have to look at drugs. A lot of crimes are committed because of drugs, whether they're trying to get the money to buy the drugs for themselves or just to get it out there on the streets to make a buck.
We'll continue this conversation, I'm sure, at another time. Leslie Marshall, have a great weekend.
Thank you, Charles. You too.